I don't want to talk about what we might think we need in order to do this practice. And as always, these are just my thoughts, so take them with a grain of salt and so forth. I'll talk for a little bit. A week ago, on the anniversary of the passing of Maizumi Roshi, we talked about him, and we talked about the early days of the Zen Center of Los Angeles, and then our conversation ranged into some other areas as well. I enjoyed it. It was a great conversation. In that conversation that followed, it came up. I heard a couple of things that resonate for me, because I've thought this too, along the lines of that perhaps, at times we may see some of these earlier times in Zen history as being better or more ideal or somehow more conducive to good practice, or more conducive to awakening, maybe, than where we are today. And I can appreciate that, particularly as it relates to the 70s in the United States. American Zen centers at the time were growing quickly. It was relatively new for a lot of us, and people were discovering the practice. And we were trying to figure out how this foreign looking and sounding thing should be integrated into our culture. So the times were heady, to be sure, very heady. Everything was kind of building and new, and there was a lot of energy around these centers. San Francisco Zen Center, at that time opened Green's restaurant in Fort Mason in San Francisco, and it became world famous, critically acclaimed vegetarian restaurant. Tassajara Bread Book came out by Ed Brown, Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, The Three Pillars of Zen, Be Here Now. There was a lot going on. Zen centers raised money and maintained their city places, like in New York and San Francisco and LA, while they were able also to fund buying land in remote areas like Green Gulch or Tassajara or Mountain Center in Southern California, to establish more traditional Japanese style monasteries. But the question really is, were these times and in these places and with those circumstances somehow better for practice, or more conducive to awakening than they are right here, right now, tonight? It's just my perspective. Having been there, I would like to offer that they were not better. They were perfect for those people at that time in those places. And then things changed. And changed again. I'd like to suggest that today, right here at Shambhala Center and online, right now, with just us practicing together, the circumstances for our each realizing the Buddha way are perfect. They are exactly what they need to be. They're exactly what all of us each personally needs. And throughout our Zen history, there have been breakthrough events that we may regard as special. I might have the thought, if I had only been there, then I would really be able to practice. And of course, many of those events were seminal, major historic turns. And I want to ask something about each of these, and I'll name a few here. Bodhidharma came from the West, came from India to China. And in numerous koans, we ask ourselves the question, why? Why did Bodhidharma come from the West? I'd like to ask a different question about that, if there was a Bodhidharma, and I think that's even debatable, but I think perhaps, another good question is, what do we think Bodhidharma brought with him from India that the Chinese lacked? What didn't they have that he needed to bring them? The golden age of Zen in the Tang dynasty, and this is late 700s, 800s, 900s in China, was unquestionably rich with teachers and teachings. And as many of us know, so much of our koan curriculum comes from that time. So again, it truly was historically seminal and just an unbelievable period of time. But at its core, down deep, how is Tong China different from Boulder, Colorado in 2023 in terms of our ability to wake up? Was it better? Was it easier? It's said that Ehe Dogen went to China from Japan in 1223, and he came back with Chan Buddhism, which we began to call Zen. Imagine being there then with Dogen. But what is it that Dogen brought back that the Japanese didn't already have? $700 later, Shunryu Suzuki and Soyen Shaku, Taizan Maizumi, Soen Nakagawa, and others brought this Japanese Zen to the US and Europe. And same question, what did they bring that we didn't have? And the question I'm really asking is, what is it that we think we don't have right here tonight that we might have benefited from at another time? Here we all are now. What did these recent Zen teachers bring us from Japan in order for us to begin to practice and to wake up? My thought throughout all of this, or the thing I want to share and suggest, is nothing. We don't lack anything. In the dedications to the Heart Sutra and to the chant identity of relative and absolute, we say, the dedication follows the chant. We say, Buddhanature pervades the whole universe existing right here now. Buddhanature pervades the whole universe existing right here now. So in this time and in this place, in those places a long time ago and in those times and tonight. So if that's true, what needed to be carried over the Silk Roads or the channel of the East China Sea or across the Pacific? Dogen Zenji said, and I've forgotten, I looked this up today, but I don't remember where this comes from, but it was in my memory. I heard this a long time ago. Do not travel to other dusty lands, forsaking your own sitting place. If you cannot find the truth where you are now, you will never find it. I'd like to suggest that everything that you and I and all of us need to practice and to awaken, to wake up to our true nature, we have it. We have everything we need. I was looking around just for thoughts about this, and I don't know the name of the temple, but apparently there's a famous temple in Kyoto with a stone water fountain outside, and there's four kanji on it that translate as "all you need, you already have." And here's there's an aspect of this too, that this is such a hypothetical that I hate to even share it, but even if I were able to live a different life, let's say in the Tang Dynasty in China, somehow convincing myself that it would be better practice or easier practice or stronger practice, or I would get swept up and carried along into enlightenment because of all these famous Zen masters. Even assuming such a thing were possible, I'd still be faced with me. We've heard the expression, wherever you go, there you are. So even if I time traveled back to Hangzhou in 850 CE, there I would still be. I would not have shaken myself off. I'd still have my attitudes, my beliefs, my fears, all these various self-images, all my neuroses. I'd have all of that. Oh, well. I came all this way and I still have to work on myself. I didn't escape. Pause and consider our lives right now. And we, in the scope of things in the world, we are quite privileged. Most of us have enough food, clothing, and shelter, other basic necessities. We could always use a little more. Perhaps we have loved ones, people who care about us. We're mostly comfortable without any real desperate needs. Mostly cared for. Nonetheless, often I am dissatisfied. I'm looking for more comfort, more love, more stuff, more knowledge, more certainty, more security. more validation. I don't often enough embody the idea that I already have enough and that I should simply be grateful. And that's particularly true as it relates to my practice, my Zen practice. It's easy for me to slip into thinking that if I were younger, or if I were in better health, or if I were more materially comfortable, perhaps if I had more free time to be able to practice, or if I was more like this or that person who I idealize as great Zen teachers or great Zen students, if I was more like them, that I could practice more effectively. I just called that if onlyism. I think I've shared this before. I forgive me if I repeat some of these anecdotes, but they pop up and they're useful at different times. There was a time I was feeling particularly despondent, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, about my practice. And I said to Shishin Roshi, and I was joking, of course, but I said, when they passed out Buddhanature, I think I must have been in the wrong line. And he very quickly said, "You're not that special." And of course, he did that as kindly as possible. And I'll never forget it, because he was both kind and serious. I think he saw me thinking that I was somehow unique and uniquely disqualified to realize my human birthright, to realize my oneness with everything. I think he saw me thinking or feeling that I didn't have everything I needed. Something was missing. And if only he could give it to me, it'd be cool. But he can't give it to me. In one of our first koans, we hear a monk asking if the dog has Buddhanature, and Joshu answers using a Chinese negation, but it means no or not have. And I see this as an affirmation that Buddhanature is so intimate and so elemental that to say that I have it completely misses the reality. How can I have this any more than I can have my breath or my awareness? I think this is really just such an essential point in our practice, and a point for me, and perhaps for you, a point that is so simple that it can be confounding. Everything we need, we already have. Everything we have, whether we like it or not, is our practice ground, including all those things that I may think are impediments to me practicing. They're all it. They're all my practice ground. Wherever I go, there I am. Me being old, me having health issues, me being not as materially comfortable as I might like to be. Kurt Vonnegut said, "So it goes." There's nowhere to go. There's nothing to achieve or gain. There's nothing new to become other than to realize who and what I already am. And at the same time, I need to practice that as diligently as if my very life depended on it. My body is enough. My education is enough. My breath is enough. My Sangha is enough. My friends and family are enough. I am enough. And at the end of this, perhaps my practice is more a process of releasing and letting go than of gaining. Letting go of things and ideas that I cling to. And at the same time, maybe it's more of me allowing other aspects of my life that I tend to push away or try to protect myself from, allowing them to come. As we say at Eon Zen Center, let go, let come, let be. Just so. Just like this. And Boulder, Colorado in 2023 is a very fine place to practice. In fact, for us right here and right now, it's perfect. Along with every other aspect of our lives, just exactly like this. Thank you for your attention. I appreciate it.